Welcome everybody to the Holyoke School Committee regular meeting of March 23. It is 6:07, calling this meeting to order. Roll call, please, Ms. Feliciano.
Mayor Garcia,
Here.
Dr. Vera Colon,
Here.
Mr. Sheehan,
Present.
Ms. LaFave,
Present.
Ms. LeBron Martinez,
Here.
Ms. Tenzie Williams,
Aki.
Mr. Izaza,
Here.
Mr. Michelson,
Here.
Ms. Lubo,
Here.
and Ms. Wilson.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
On March 29, 2025, Governor Maura Healey signed into law, as amended by Section 2506, entitled An Act Relative to Extending Certain COVID-19 Measures Adopted During the State of Emergency ACT. Of interest to all governmental public bodies in Massachusetts, the Act extends until June 2027. The authority for meetings of multiple member bodies to be held in an entirely remote or hybrid format. All public bodies may hold fully remote or hybrid meetings without the physical presence of a quorum of the public body, as long as adequate alternative means of public access is also provided. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, I'm hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting, and the meeting is being live streamed and run live on the city's community TV channel. Moving on, no student showcase for tonight. And public comment. I have the list for public comment here. Just as a reminder, everybody has 2 minutes to speak. It is not a conversation. We are abiding by what the topics are of our meeting agenda. So our first person is Elizabeth Montana.
The Holyoke Paraprofessional Association is here to present the committee with an almost complete set of proposals for our contract negotiations. We wanted to give these to you tonight before our next negotiation session in the hopes that you will bring your own proposals and responses on April 6th. Because you did not start bargaining until March 10th, we are eager to quickly reach an agreement before our contract expires at the end of this school year. We worked throughout the weekend to finish these proposals, and we hope you respect the time it took to survey every member before writing them. Some of our proposals represent policies that were in place before receivership that we would like to reinstate. Our speakers will share why these proposals are what paras need. I would like to briefly highlight some, but not all, of the proposals in the folders with your names on them. Excuse me. Our compensation proposal was designed to reflect the many different paraprofessional categories, education, experience, and skill sets that we bring to our positions. We believe that a tier and step system is the most equitable way to do this. We are also proposing the return of longevity for the dedicated paras working in this district. Most importantly, this proposal moves us closer to having a true living wage in Hampden County. We are asking for an increase in sick time yearly as we work in close proximity to children who frequently come to school when not feeling well and are contagious. We are proposing 8 weeks of paid family leave to care for our families when we need to, including after the birth or adoption of a child. Our Health and Safety Committee proposal mirrors the HTA's, as does our assault leave proposal. Our members need paid time to recover when they are hurt on the job, just like teachers do. We urge you all to read and understand the packets in front of you. These articles, in addition to what we presented on March 10th, represent almost all of what we will be proposing. As soon as we finish our last proposals, particularly compensation for paras acting as teachers, we will send them to you. We look forward to seeing you at the bargaining table on April 6th. May I leave these with you?
Thank you. Next, Shelley Reed.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Reed. I live at 6 Terry Lane in Belchertown. I'm here tonight to talk to you about what my job as a paraeducator means to me. I am more than just a teacher's helper. I don't just make copies. I don't just fix boo-boos or wipe noses. I don't just tie shoes. Well, I tie a lot of shoes. Okay. Our roles have changed over the years, but our salaries have not. I offer physical and emotional support, personal care, and curriculum support to two very high-need students. I care for these children deeply. I think about them on the weekends. I worry about them when they are sick or out for more than one day. I miss them terribly over vacation weeks. This is the profession I chose, knowing that I could make more money as a classroom teacher as I once was, or as a para in another district. But I find my current role as a paraeducator in the Holyoke Public Schools to be the most rewarding job that I've ever had in my teaching career. It's a shame that I cannot be fully compensated for all that I bring to HPS. Many of us feel the same way. We love our roles in the classroom and what we do for the children of Holyoke more than cashing a big paycheck every other week. I am one of the lucky ones. I don't have to work a second job, but my husband does. He does this so I can do the job that I love so much and still take care of my family obligations. There are many of us who work 2 or 3 jobs and still have to come home to take care of family responsibilities. We should not have to supplement our income like this. This is our career, not an after-school job. I'm not fighting just for myself. I'm fighting for all the paraeducators that deserve a decent, livable wage and wish to remain working with our most vulnerable children. We are asking that you do us the right thing. Show us you care about our passion and the children of this city. Please make us want to stay here working in the Holyoke school system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, Ron Leung Haley.
Hello, my name is Ron Lang Haley. I live at 51 East Hooker Street in Springfield. I'm a para at Peck Middle, and I briefly want to discuss the topic of personal time and sick time. I am disabled and live with chronic pain and swelling. I've been doing my best to navigate through the symptoms of chronic illness and pursue medical answers and assistance while working. Under the current contract, I have to pick and choose which days I need to take off because of the accrual system in place. This means that I've had to come to work all decked out in braces and mobility aids in order to show up and perform my job. Unfortunately, as a result, this means that I am pushing my body past its limits and needing to take more time off because I exacerbate my symptoms. Time up front and an updated accrual would allow me to better maintain my health between medical appointments, chronic illness, as well as regular sickness that I can catch from the children. I hope that an updated sick policy will allow me to better do my job and show up for the kids at Holyoke.
Next, Alexander Leung Haley.
Hello, my name is Alexander and I live in Springfield. I'm a paraprofessional who works at Peck Middle School and I'm a member of the bargaining team. I would like to discuss the topic of coverage today. I have always been willing to support my fellow staff by covering for teachers when they were out. This year, I am filling in for an empty special education inclusion role. This role was necessary so that my fellow staff would not be overwhelmed by a massive caseload of students. Both of the 6th grade special education teachers that I work with at the start of the school year had a caseload of over 25. Last year, I subbed about half of my days. This year, I have already subbed all of them. Daily, our coverage sheet takes paraprofessionals assigned to one-to-one students and has them teach. Daily, our coverage sheets has paraprofessionals assigned as shared paras and also has them teach. I've had the unique experience of feeling frustrated that I have to sub on a day and cannot support my own students in the classroom, and also have had the opposite experience of now teaching and not having paraprofessionals available for students on my own caseloads services. The bargaining team is hopeful you will listen to our proposals as we have our students' best interests in mind and want to see their services fulfilled. Thank you.
Delmaris Díaz Rivera.
Hola, mi nombre es Delmaris Díaz Rivera y vivo en la 814 de la Dwight Street. No solo somos para educadores, somos apoyo emocional y en ocasiones la única fuente de afecto para algunos de nuestros estudiantes. Velamos por ellos mucho más allá de lo educativo. Ponemos de nuestro dinero para suplirles merienda, pañales o toallitas húmedas. Incluso en casos más extremos, ropa e incluso zapatos. Siendo madre de 2 adolescentes, he tenido que posponer o cancelar citas de mis hijos para poder estar presente en mi trabajo, ya que en ocasiones somos poco personal para poder cubrir tantas necesidades en tan solo un salón de clase. Literalmente, en muchas ocasiones dejamos de ser de nuestra familia o de nosotros mismos por entregarnos en cuerpo y alma a nuestros niños y profesión. Porque amamos lo que hacemos y aunque sea agotador tanto emocional y físicamente, somos todos unidos gritando a una sola voz y solo queremos que se nos escuche y nos den un contrato digno y justo. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Quiñones.
Hello, my name is Daniel Quinones. I'm a para at Donahue Elementary. As you know, paraprofessionals in Holyoke Public Schools are essential to the success of our students. Yet we continue to struggle under the weight of low wages and increasing demands as our contract negotiations continue. With our contract nearing expiration, we remain committed to our goals despite uncertainty, showing up every day for our students who rely on us the most. As you may know, paraprofessionals are often showed up the primary support for students with significant academic, behavioral, and emotional needs. We de-escalate crises, provide one-on-one instruction, and help create safe, stable environments where students can learn. This work requires skill, patience, and dedication, but is also not reflected in our pay. With the current district wages, many paras find it difficult to afford basic necessities, especially with the cost of living in Massachusetts continues to rise. While negotiations have included discussions of raises, the reality is that current wages still fall short of what is needed to recruit and retain many staff. Many of our colleagues are forced to leave for higher paying districts or entirely different professions. This constant turnover disrupts the consistency our students depend on and place additional strains to thus whose remain. We love our students and believe in the mission of Holyoke Public Schools, which is Together We Can. That is why we continue to show up even when it's difficult, but dedication alone cannot pay rent, support a family, sustain a long-term career here in Holyoke. As negotiations move forward, we are simply asking for a fair compensation that reflects the critical role we play in our schools. Investing in paraprofessionals is not just about wages, it's about stability for our students, respect for educators, and our future of the district. Thank you.
Destiny Espinosa.
Hi, my name is Destiny Espinosa and I live in Holyoke. Paraprofessionals play a critical role in developing the future teaching workforce. Many paras enter the education workforce because they are passionate about working with students, especially students who need extra support. Through daily hands-on experience in classrooms, paraprofessionals gain practical knowledge that can't be taught in textbooks and behavior support, instructional strategy, collaborations, and relationships building with students and families. When schools support paraprofessionals through a fair and sustainable contract, districts create a clear pathway to help paras grow and expand in their teaching roles. Paras already understand the school culture, the district expectations, and special needs of the students and the population. And this is why they deserve equal pay.
We have Kara Theriak.
Hello, my name is Kara Theriak. I live at 214 Locust Street in Holyoke, and I'm a one-to-one para at Dean Tech. I'm here to talk about the importance of paraprofessionals in the classroom. Paraprofessionals are the quiet backbone of our schools, our classrooms, and our communities. Every single day they show up, not for recognition or praise, but because they care deeply about the students they serve. They are there in the moments that matter most, helping a child understand a lesson for the first time, calming a student in crisis, offering patience, dignity, and compassion when it's needed most. They work one-on-one with students who require extra support, often those with special needs, learning differences, or emotional challenges. These are not easy responsibilities. They require skill, empathy, resilience, and an incredible amount of emotional strength. Yet, despite the crucial role paraprofessionals play, they are often underpaid, undervalued, and overlooked. Let's be honest, schools simply couldn't function the same without them. Teachers rely on paraprofessionals to create an environment where every student has a chance to succeed. Families trust them with their children. Students depend on them for consistency, encouragement, and care. And still, many paraprofessionals are forced to work second, third, sometimes even fourth jobs just to make ends meet. This isn't just about fairness, it's about respect. It's about recognizing that the work they do has real, lasting impact. When we invest in paraprofessionals, we are investing in better outcomes for students, stronger classrooms, and healthier school systems overall. A fair wage is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is a statement that we value dedication, that we honor compassion, and that we understand the importance of supporting those who support our most vulnerable learners. If we truly believe in the power of education, we must also believe in the people who make it possible every day. It's time to give paraprofessionals the recognition they deserve, not just in words, but in meaningful action. Because when we lift them up, we lift up our entire educational systems with them. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Moving on to communication and reports, student reports. Holyoke High North.
Hi everybody, my name is Kirsten St. Lawrence and I'm a senior at Holyoke High School. I'm coming today just with a couple things, not a couple, there's actually a few, of just what's going on at the high school. Our seniors are getting ready for their capstone presentations. Last week, the 12th graders were in the large and small gym presenting some trifolds to the 11th graders, just explaining what their project's going to be, how it connects to their future, and such. Last week, our 10th graders are getting ready for the MCAS. They had an MCAS rally. They had an Oreo and Harm Mellow challenge to help them think about perseverance on the test. They made posters with inspiring messages and test-taking tips for their peers. Some of the messages were focus, you got this, the mindset you carry shapes what you create, and we strive to do and be our best. Our 9th graders are getting ready for some of an in-class debate that will happen this week. It is a debate between a team from Holyoke High North and a team from Dean. This year, Holyoke High School has been selected to create one of the 6 Chick E sculptures that will be featured at the Big E. Our advanced art students have taken on this challenge. As part of our school's beautification work, Roots is creating a new mural that will be in our student support room. The theme is growth, and the message is to trust your growth. HHS Band, Roots, cheer team, and the musical were all represented in the St. Patrick's Day Parade yesterday, as well as our wrestling team, as they were the 2026 MIAA D3 champions. Mamma Mia at the Holyoke High School, they're having their musical this year. The dates are April 9th through 12th. It is going to be a great show. I recommend you all come. To finish off our winter sports season, 5 of our athletes were able to participate in Adidas Track Nationals over the weekend. And finally, spring sports are in full swing with games starting next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And would you mind stating your name again?
Kirsten St. Lawrence.
Kirsten St. Lawrence. Thank you so much, Kirsten. Next up, Superintendent's Report. Panorama presentation. Mr. Soto.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to ask Jenny and Jackie to both come up. Included in your packet. So this was something that was tabled from the last school committee meeting. What you have is a summary that was actually sent out to the community. I attached that memo. That's something that was not included in the packet. For the last school committee meeting, You have the original panorama survey results, overview, a summary that we created for the last school committee meeting, and you have the school responses. So each principal went through and reflected on their data, named some glows, named some grows, and named some next steps. And then you have a new presentation that wasn't included in the last meeting, which we felt captured a more high-level summary of the results. And Jenny Malave is going to walk us through that presentation.
This is the right button. Okay. Hi, everybody. Jenny Malave. I'm the Executive Director of Technology and Data Systems. So we did our annual panorama survey. As you guys, I'm sure, remember, we do this annually to assess our culture climate of the district. We survey all of our students, grades 3 to 5, and then 6 to 12. There's a staff teacher survey, as well as a family survey. And we use this as a way to get a dipstick on our culture and also to measure progress towards our strategic goals that we set forth in the strategic plan that are aligned to these. My goal in kind of giving you a second presentation is to align this to our strategic plan and make this a little bit easier to understand how we are taking these survey questions and finding action in our next steps. Our big takeaway from the Panorama survey this year is that Holyoke is making meaningful progress in a lot of areas. Specifically, we're seeing progress in safety, family perceptions, adult workplace climate, but the district still has a lot of challenges, especially around the daily student experience, and we see that particularly around students grades 6 through 12. And the central tension that we're seeing here is not that students are indifferent to school. Students are reporting that they care very much about school, but the daily experience of learning, their relationships, their belonging are not as strong as what we want them to be. And so that is something that we saw reflected at the district level as well as through all of the schools themselves. And a large part of our strategic plan this year is around belonging. And so this really highlights that this is the right place for us to be concentrating and that more emphasis needs to be placed on this. And so what I've done throughout these slides is just given you some very high level metrics of evidence where we're seeing progress and then places that we see the most urgent concern. So that's where you're seeing these numbers. As always, all of the panorama findings, all of the individual questions that you can break out by gender, race, grade, those are all available from the public preview link that was sent in this packet as well as the last packet, so you can go more deeply into all of this data.
Ms. Silva Martinez.
To the slide, you said that you're highlighting the most urgent concerns, and you have it at 18%, and it's not the 40%. Is it correct on that one here?
Yes. Okay. So when we're looking at these numbers, they're all in terms of favorability. And so on the panorama survey, favorability is the top most positive answers on that specific survey question. And so all of the survey questions in the survey kind of get collapsed into different buckets. And so when we're highlighting the most urgent concerns, the topic of engagement, which is made of a few different questions, we're only showing 18% favorability. That's 1 point higher than last year, but still a lot lower than what we want to see. And then in our belonging questions, we're at 40% favorable. And again, this is up a little bit from last year, the +7, but we want to see more exponential growth in those areas. So these boxes represent specific questions and buckets of questions.
Yeah, and I'll just add, so in the other presentation, we had a disclaimer in there that talks about like what a favorable response was. So the question, one of the questions that's in this engagement question is, how excited are you about going to your classes? And unless a student answered very excited and extremely excited, it doesn't show up as a favorable response. But 40% of our students responded they're somewhat excited, but we don't, like, the data that we present in terms of responses favorable is only if they answered very excited and extremely excited.
Ms. Lubel.
Can you explain, so the panorama survey, so what is a good survey sample that gives you actionable data? So are you getting actionable data from the amount of people that are taking the survey?
This was on the other presentation, I'm sorry. If you look at the slides on the other presentation, we go over the participation rates. Annually, we have over 70, I can pull up the exact numbers. We have over 75% participation for students and for staff, and that's exactly where we want to see it. A significant sample is usually 70% or higher, that you can make pretty grounded conclusions based on that data. It's representative of the entire population. The one that we highlighted as an urgent need is our family participation. This year we only had a little over 500 surveys returned from families. This is a decline from previous years, which is it's been decreasing over the last couple of years, and we're concerned that families are not engaging in the same way as they had like pre-COVID. And so we're trying to identify what those barriers are for getting students to give their feedback. And so that was something that we highlighted as a place to lean in on. Sure.
Yeah, we had 554 families responded this year in the fall, and last year it was like 614. But during the pandemic, we had a year where 1,200 families responded. That was like the biggest year. And since then, we've been 700, 800, 600, and 550, despite our efforts. So once the panorama survey closed, we actually opened it up for another 3 weeks to give more opportunities for families to fill it out. We worked with our family engagement team to get the word out. We asked principals to do everything that they can. So this was like, even after the window had closed to fill out the survey responses, we kept it open for a few weeks to try to get more families. It just didn't pan out to get more families like we would like.
Ms. Lubel.
So just when we're focusing on the 18% number, which was concerning to me, it was concerning in the report, obviously, and you just mentioned that. But I'm thinking it reflectively of our last meeting and the Q2 report, and then I'm looking at or hearing about specific benchmarks or things that we're doing to increase the secondary engagement. But I'm just wondering, can someone just point me to a specific benchmark or target that's specifically named that is looking to close that gap of 18%? Because I wasn't making that, or couldn't find that on my own.
Yeah, I think so. In the presentation, we try to align some of the strategic plan work with panorama responses and action steps, but around engagement in general, I could tell, you all have seen some iteration of the student summit, right? That Holyoke High School is doing. And one of the things that they did this year So last year, their student summit focused on belonging to the school in general. And this was peer-led, student-led. This year's student summit actually was about belonging in the classroom. And what are those things that are, even when you get to school, despite getting to school, like what's causing you to skip classes or just feel like in the classroom itself, you're not, you're not feeling like you belong, or the work that you're doing is engaging and fun. That's something that Holyoke High School is leaning into when they look at this data, is really talking to kids, and then having teachers sit there and listen to what the students have to say. Jackie, I don't know if you have other information to add, but that's one that comes to mind that I know the high school is doing.
When I look at Panorama, it's one data point. So when I'm working with the schools and we're working on belonging, and I'm going to use Holyoke High as an example. When Holyoke High presents to us how they're doing on their belonging plan, they're looking at their own data from their school, and they're looking at their reach blocks and their engagement in those reach blocks. And they're also looking at this panorama, but it's not the only data point they're going to action plan on. So at the end of Q2, when we have what we call our SIP reviews and they report out how their belonging plan is going, and I don't believe this panorama data was available when they were planning that. They got it after. The plan is to, what are we doing that's working? What do we need to increase on? And what are the action steps that the school needs to do? And what are the action steps the district needs to do? I caution us when I look at some of the panorama data, because oftentimes, Patty, it's one question. And so I personally, as a school administrator, have a hard time putting all my eggs into one or two questions, but it's definitely going to make me dig deeper and find some more data. So when I hear you say, I haven't clearly heard what the action plan is to close that 18%, the action plan isn't just to close that 18%. The action plan is also to increase students' participation in class, increase engagement in collaborative discussion, things like that. And I don't want to dismiss this data either, but I just want to say it is one data point.
Ms. Lefebvre?
So if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Bluebold, what you're looking at is more so how these responses are connected to the strategic plan, correct? Like what priority? Is
So-
that what you're asking?
Well, because we're to Jackie's point, there are multiple data points that we're looking at, that she's looking at to evaluate progress. And when you see an 18%, and we as a board are sitting here and looking at that, how are we to assess? And I'll go a little bit further. So, and don't quote me on the statistic. I'm gonna if it's wrong, but the 86% of the walkthrough tool is it for good engagement, right? So we have an 86% there, and then we have an 18% there. What do you think is, where is the disconnect in these two surveys? That's what I don't understand. So we have one report that's saying we're at 18%, another that's saying with the walkthrough tool that we're at 86%. So where are our secondary students engaged? Are they really engaged, or are they not engaged? And if they're not engaged, what are we doing about it? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, and when I see this, I immediately go to the question. What's the question? How excited are you about going to your class? 24% of our kids said not at all excited. But 439 students said a little excited. 703 said somewhat excited. And then the 18% is very excited and extremely excited. If I had seen that, that 90% or 80% of our kids are not excited at all, that's like a different conversation. But to Jackie's point, we use this data, we work with the principals, and in addition to all the other data that they're looking at. And if I had to pick a bucket where that falls in our strategic plan, it would be learning experiences for kids. We want, strong, culturally responsive learning experiences for kids. It's hard to do that when they're not really like super excited to go to class.
Ms. Tinsley Williams.
How do you propose that we get them excited? Did you start a process now that maybe we can help? I can help as a volunteer.
Yeah, I think over the last couple of years, what I've seen at the high school that I hadn't seen in the past is really engaging students in this discussion and sharing data with them, and working with students to come up with plans like, what are we doing wrong? How could we help support this? And that's something that I haven't seen prior to last year. When we did that student summit over at the Sheridan in Springfield, it was pretty eye-opening for a lot of teachers, a lot of administrators, myself included, that like we were creating all these plans and responding to all this feedback without sitting down with the students and having like honest dialogue and conversation about how we could tackle issues like this. I saw Jackie wanted to say something as well.
Do we need to speak to the parents as volunteers to help out? Because I used to do a lot of volunteer work in school. So if anything I could do, I'll be happy to. If I have to go to talk to the parents or to their homes, or maybe have a meeting in my section, Ward 2, let me know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, one of the things I did with this is I had my own son. Like I sat down and asked him questions, and my son, who doesn't attend Holyoke Public Schools, when I asked him how excited he is to go to class, like very rarely is going to say, "Oh my God, Dad, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get to class." He's usually like, "Yeah, sometimes I get a little excited for social studies, but I don't really get too excited for math or for ELA, depending on what his favorite subjects are." So we're just asking one question to all of our students, and like, I'm sure if we asked them like, "How excited are you to go to your favorite class?" this would be different. But we just said class in general. When I talked to my son about it, he's different. He's like, "Dad, I really like going to gym, and I really like modern world. Those are my two favorite classes, but I don't like," if I had to and I just ask him a question, he's like, a little bit excited.
You could even ask the parents too.
Yeah.
How excited are your children? I mean, the parents could tell you yes or no, maybe so. So, need me, call me.
Ms. Glasheen.
Thanks. To Patty's question again, I want to talk about the walkthrough tool because I just want to be super clear. When we're looking for engagement, for student engagement, how we identify that is what is the percentage of students who are doing what we asked of them. So if it's a writing task, how many have pen to paper and are doing the task? If it's a discussion, how many are doing the discussion? And that's how they get the percentage. I share that because I feel like that is a more accurate representation of engagement, where the engagement that is named in the Panorama survey is how excited are you coming to class. So as we're looking at the data, it's several data points. And then, so of course, as I'm talking to you, I'm quickly looking up Holyoke High's belonging plan. And their benchmarks or their goals for belonging are increase overall attendance from 84% to 86, decreased percentage of chronic attendance, and they're reporting out how they're doing. So they do have specific data goals to identify if they are moving in the right direction. And the purpose of the SIP review is for we're talking about Holyoke High, but every school to say, what we did in Q1 didn't work because we didn't meet our goals. But when I look at Holyoke High North right now, they have one they didn't meet, they've met 3, and one's in progress. So we are temp checking, we are using the data, and it is not one single data point that we're looking at to say we've met them.
Ms. Laura Martinez.
I go in deeper, and I'm gonna go deeper to this because my curiosity now is, do we have this broken down by ethnicity? Like Hispanic, Latino, is that broken down that way as well?
Yep. When you're on the Panorama platform, under each individual survey question, you can break down the favorability by their gender, their special education status, their ELL status, by their race, and by the grade that they are in. Oh, and as well, their primary language spoken at home.
Can I continue? It has been one of my concerns, not only because of today's data, and I know we've strive in our schools to provide this information to parents, and I find some of this data difficult to be broken down, but my goal, and hopefully will be that eventually we can sort of run a campaign to promote most of the ways that people can really get engaged. I think that we have to be honest. The engagement process, even for someone who may speak the language, sometimes could be daunting. Our teachers and our administration is busy to take on these tasks, to get people engaged or understand systems as a whole. And it's always been a dream of mine that we really take a campaign to the next level in regards to how to engage our community, how to, in a sense, of those that are from, other community languages. I mean, I was talking to a family member in Puerto Rico and I explained to them the challenges that we sometimes have even here, where some of our, graduates do not attend their prom. And people use the fact that it could be financially, right? In here, people I've hear saying that. And then when you look at the way that in Puerto Rico, our graduation rate, not the proms and the what they look forward to graduating is what happens at that prom night, is basically the engagement of the parents. They bring bands that cost like $10,000. And this is one of the things that they look forward to. And parents are involved at many levels. There may be, some that are struggling now more than ever because their education system depends out of our fundings in the United States. But I just want to share that there is a lot of ways. We have 88% of our children. They continue to say 80, but I think we're almost to 100% of our children still be from the Hispanic community, that we have to change the way we're doing engagement. And I just wanted to, share that aspect of how we can better help. What's, the board can do as a woman of color, representing 9 of my grandkids, 3 of who, or 1 already is enrolled in preschool coming in this year. What can we do for those who do not have a voice, for those who do not know how to get engaged, And the engagement is for the purposes that these children get to school. So the attendance, that we can really understand the social economic, the barriers that are lacking and not helping us as a system to teach them. Because if they don't come to school, they're not learning. So it may be a venting point, but I think it was a great moment for me to share how I've been feeling about this. And every time I see more data, I ask myself the question: how many of these children, who are 80% of the Latino community, are really getting engaged or not getting engaged? So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lubbold.
Thank you. And I do want to pick up on what and accentuate what Gladys was saying, because I feel that, when I look at that score, when I get the executive report that comes through, which I appreciated, by the way, very much, it was very clear and it was very helpful. There is data in this report that no doubt shows that progress is being made, work is being made. But when I hear some of the suggestions about the 18%, I'm struggling with how do I evaluate this particular data set, because I'm hearing a little bit of mixed messages, I feel, about, this number's good, but this number we're not going to listen to because it's 18% and because it's one question. I don't understand how, like, I guess my question is, or asking, like, what is the gap? Like, why is there a gap on this survey versus the other data points that we're having, and thinking about what we're doing at it? Is it that this particular data set, this particular study is not as robust as it needs to be? And so that we need another factor? Like when somebody reads that and looks at that, if it truly is not representative of what our kids are experiencing, the engagement point, then why are we showing it? Like, I'm not really understanding that piece, if it's really not good.
Go ahead, Ms. Malabe.
I think you bring up a really excellent point, right? Because we're kind of focusing very singularly right now on that student engagement 18, right? And so one of the reasons that we use the panorama survey is not so that we can look at exactly one question and dissect what that number means, but when we look holistically across a lot of these categories, what we're seeing are trends where, actually on this side, we are seeing not only is student engagement at 18, but teacher-student relationships are lower than we want them. Belonging is lower than we want them. And that really makes us have a pause to say, like, okay, we can see 78 kids are really valuing schools, right? They really they understand why school is important to them. They want to do well in school. They're expressing this identity as a scholar. And at the same time, they're also saying, I don't feel as engaged as I want to. I'm not as excited about class as I want to, we'll say, instead of engaged. I don't feel like I belong as much as I want to, and I don't have as many adult-student relationships as I want to. And so when we think across multiple categories that are all trending in the same way, especially across schools, that tells us, like, hey, like, on our strategic plan, we have called out belonging as one of our key focus areas, right? And so this tells us that, like, that is a place where we need to continue focusing our work on to make that better for students, right? Because what we would see is that if students felt like they belonged, if students had really meaningful relationships with adults, then we would probably also see higher levels of engagement, higher levels of attendance, lower chronic absenteeism, right? So my recommendation is to kind of like zoom out from like the single question and like use this to make connections of like how we can concentrate our work a little bit more directly. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah, I mean, it helps. It just, it's like, it's just trying to determine the lagging indicators, where you need to focus, and then evaluating, do the next steps get you there to close that gap? I don't know that the next steps do that, basically what I've read. So I'm just struggling with the validity of the survey, I guess. If it's, I feel like there's maybe death by a million data points. Like, where do you look?
Ms. Dunsley Williams.
I'm doing my best to learn Spanish, okay? There's 85% of the children in Holyoke are Hispanic. Now, Mrs. Soto, there's only 4% or 2% of Black students in Holyoke.
I don't have all the demographics in front of me. I can look that up. You have a question about?
Well, yeah, they speak English, I guess, I'm sure. But like I said, I'm learning Spanish so I can help all the students. Okay, so I'm doing pretty good. It's tough because I think all the Black people left Holyoke and went back to Springfield or went down south because
6% is
there
what
was
I'm
no
hearing.
job. Oh, 6%?
Yes.
Okay, that's a small percentage, but that's okay. I'm here for all the students.
Ms. Lefebvre.
I know everybody's going to hate me with what I'm going to say, but I am not diminishing the work that you've done. Thank you for summarizing everything. But I'm going to go even further. Did you send out the panorama? so that we can actually log in and look at the questions.
Yes, I did.
I did not get that piece because I was looking back. I got it back in 23 and 24, but I'm looking to see because you're asking how we got to that 18% and it's based off of one question or two questions. So being that this is causing so much havoc and these results are kind of skewed, right, as to how the responses are, why don't we just stop using Panorama? So that we're not having this headache every single year because basically we are going to perseverate on that 18% engagement off of two questions. Two questions, okay? That is a waste of time for two questions when there's so many aspects to engagement, right? Okay, they don't like going into class. Oh, there's your engagement. I don't like it. Oh, okay, maybe that was a bad day that day. It's also when was this given, right? Same with family engagement. For them to respond to the surveys. Do they have the access to do it online? Did they have time to do it? You know, there's other things to life that we do as parents, right? That's not like, oh my God, let me get to that survey. Like me right now. Oh my God, I forgot to do an evaluation. And I'm late on it, right? Because there's so much that's happening on a day-to-day basis. So we're not getting the actual results, but we're harping still on page 2 of this thing on that engagement and the belonging. And there was so much more. There's so much more data that we can get from other things that we see. When we have the events at Kelly School, there's your engagement right there. Okay? We get the whole community coming out, right? When there's events at Morgan, oh my gosh, Morgan, family fun nights. And it's always revolved around who's hosting it, right? Because I've also seen the engagement when it used to be at, really, it's like black and white on that one. But when we go to, what do you call this place? Metcalf. When Metcalf used to be for the younger kids that we went, no, middle school, we had 2 people show up for one of the fun nights. 2 people, right? When I go to Morgan, we have 50 to 100. It's also who's hosting the events, what is it that is really going to attract the person to go, right? But in my opinion, and this is my opinion, we need to get rid of Panorama at this point because it's causing more harm than good when we're discussing this, because there's other ways that we can evaluate engagement, belonging, versus 2 questions for each of those sections.
Yeah, I know we're focusing on engagement right now. We did see some positive data throughout the survey this year. You know, you could see there that safety went up 11 points, family school climate went up 3, staff working environment went up 15 from the year before. I'm not personally, I'm not married to Panorama in any way, but I do think it's best practice to do a temp check on your culture every year, and to have, despite it being one data point, like Jackie said, to have something to work off of, to benchmark a lot of their work you're doing around culture. This has helped us in the past to really reflect on data, and when we enter into when it comes to school culture, right? And hear from a lot of families, hear from a lot of students, hear from a lot of teachers, hear from a lot of staff, to really just get a temperature check on where we're at in any given year, and then help inform the planning. I did send you a couple of weeks ago a link to it, and it was on the agenda as well. There's a link that allows you to open it, and you can see the change from year to year. You could click on students, teachers, staff. But yeah, I mean, if the desire is to move away from this, I would ask then what would we would replace it with, so that annually we're able to trend, with similar questions every year, how we're making progress on overall, temperature check and culture and a lot of the things that show up in this. This isn't the only thing, principals meet with families, they meet with students, they do a ton of outreach to get a sense of where things are at in their building, but Panorama is also one of those pieces.
And I would say that even though Panorama is not my favorite survey either, we would need something to be able to capture that information. And then at the same time, I mean, coming from my background as a scientist, if you want to say that something is happening, you need 5 independent different experiments with different techniques to be able to say that something is true. The same thing is what we're doing here in education, where you're having multiple observations of the same phenomenon from different points of view, which is the reason why we have Panorama and we have the walkthrough tools and we have the school improvement plans and we have all these different things in place, so that then we can gather all the data together and then make informed decisions based on the data that we have. I understand that this may not be the easiest way to convey the data or to be able to link everything to the action steps, but when we are getting our quarterly reviews alongside with everything else, that's how we can get the data and we can make decisions about what we do moving forward. And I wanted to say, Mr. Sheehan, you good? Okay, Ms. Lubold.
Yes, and thank you for that, because that's exactly the spirit in which I'm asking these questions about the differences in the data that we are being asked to absorb, in whether it's in a Q2 report, whether it's in this report, and be able to understand what is the gap, and then what is the mitigation for whatever deficit we might fail, or consequently of all the progress that we are making. And yes, we are making progress. How do we continue to move that in that positive direction, right? And looking at these data points, what I feel is coming to us is not. And I agree with Superintendent Soto that these signals are hugely important to understand culture. But in the same way that we might say there's 2 questions on the 18%, there might be 2 questions on the 58%, right? So, we can't just say, well, we don't like the 18%, so, we have to evaluate it all in the same way. And so I guess what I'm trying to understand is, if that is one data point that we're looking at for engagement, and the walkthrough tool is another, just as an example of, Jackie, what you were mentioning, and then and then each building principal has their own belonging and engagement plan. How does this get aggregated together to us to make a competent assessment about where our district's engagement really lies? Because it seems like you can't just go with the 18%. Can't just go with the 86%. Like, where is it? Like, is there a dashboard that exists that levels up these findings?
Ms. Clichin.
There is not a dashboard that exists, but their school improvement plans are their dashboard, and they're varied. And the data is very different across schools. Some schools have very high engagement and attendance, and others are continuing to work. As you're asking that, maybe that is something at the district level we create for you all to see, because we look at them individually at each quarterly SIP review. The other thing that I just want to share that I've learned, and I'm new, and so I'm happy to take suggestions and feedback, but I have worked for district leaders who have a knee-jerk reaction to one data point, and that is not productive either. Recreate your school improvement plan based on this Panorama data, or recreate your plan based on our SEN visit, our school quality review. And we have learned that you need to triangulate the data to Jadi's point, Dr. Rivera Colon's point, in order to make informed decisions. So I wouldn't, Mrs. Glasheen wouldn't ask a school to recreate a plan on that 18% data point, But every quarter, they have to report out using such data points. Where are they based on their annual goals that they set for themselves? What are the actions that they're doing? What are the actions that they're going to change based on the data from the quarter? And what are the actions that they're going to continue to maintain because they're seeing progress? And I'd be happy to invite you to come to a SIP review when we have them in Q3 if you want to see how schools do that and dipstick a school or two.
Thank you. So we move on.
Okay. We've made it to slide 3. Before I talk about our family results, I just want to let you know on the previous slide, safety for the elementary kids should be 63 instead of 33. There's a small typo there, but a big difference in how we're interpreting it. So I would be remiss to not mention that before we continue. Apologies for that. Over the years, our family survey has been pretty consistent and I would say directionally positive. Families report that trust between the school and parents is strong, communication and academic confidence are the work that they are really concentrating on. And so generally, the feelings about family support, school climate, family efficacy were very high. We do survey, this came up a couple times, so I just wanted to mention, we do survey families on what their barriers to engagement are. So is it childcare? Is it transportation? Is it that you're at work? Is it that you just simply didn't know there was something happening at the school? You don't feel like communication is strong. So we do make a point to ask our families if there is a way that we can support, increase their engagement there. Some of the things, some of the implications that we got from this is that one of the areas of focus is that families reported a need for clear information about progress towards grade level standards, stronger communication, and visible safety practices. We saw a dip in school safety for some families, and we want to make sure that we are kind of investigating what that means for families. And we already talked about this, but participation rate for families was low, and that's really emphasizing our need to increase that in years moving forward. Questions before I continue? Already there. Sorry. Okay. On our teacher and staff survey, we have two similar but slightly different surveys. Our teachers get additional questions specifically about students and classes and instructional needs, so it's a bit longer. What we have seen is that teachers and staff are reporting more positive relationship and belonging than students are. So staff reported feeling like their work environment was positive. That they had really great relationships with other staff and with students. What we saw come up between both surveys is a need for some evaluation around our professional development, and then the evaluation cycle itself came up for both teachers and non-instructional staff. So that's something that we want to continue looking at. Okay, school reflections. In the agenda, there should have been a link to all of our individual schools' self-reflections. And so every year we ask schools to find their glows, grows, and next steps. And so you can see that laid out for all of the schools. What we heard over and over again is that they felt that they had strong relationships with families and that families were welcomed and supported. Teachers and staff frequently described strong trust, cultural competence, and improving climate. And then several schools pointed to better feedback, as in coaching and feedback. stronger culture, and there was some stronger participation than prior years. And then some schools named student value of school and student-adult relationships as foundations to build on. And we felt that that was important to highlight. Things that we heard over and over again for GROWS, they really wanted to focus on respect, belonging, and engagement because those results remain uneven depending on the school. Many schools reported that families were looking for clear information about instruction progress and how to support at home. Representation and materials and culturally responsive experience remain concerns. That's a question that continues to show low favorability for us that we continue to investigate. And then we saw evaluation and feedback cycles and staff voice come up repeatedly through many of these school write-ups as well. Okay. So I have a little disclaimer here about interpreting the connection between benchmarks and Panorama. Like Ms. Klashina said, this should be really taken into the context of so many data points that we're monitoring on a daily basis. Benchmarks are the implementation measure, and then Panorama is an experience measure, right? How are we experiencing the implementation? And our best interpretation is that when Panorama and implementation data point in the same direction, the district can have greater confidence that what's improving is actually real and where our attention is needed most. And so let me move on to the next slide. Early literacy is one of our biggest priority areas for our work. This priority is the one least measured by Panorama, right? We're talking about early literacy, the ability for our children to decode and learn and read. The benchmark focus for this year was about strong literacy practices, progress monitoring, and data meetings. Panorama is not as helpful when evaluating this. But what it does tell us is that some of the experiential things that especially our smallest children are experiencing in the classroom, their positive relationships, their academic support, are getting stronger, and that kind of lays the foundation for a safe, stable learning environment. Learning experiences, the survey reinforces the importance of this work. Students still value school, like we've talked about, and teachers are strongly committed to ensuring that every student succeeds. Again, we've talked about this a lot. Secondary engagement is low, though, and only half of students reported having their teacher have high expectations of them or be excited to be teaching. Priority area inclusion. Family and staff data suggested a positive foundation and cultural competence and relationships where families were feeling welcomed and adult family cultural competence was strong. Students' responses report a lack of student-adult relationship, of trusting student-adult relationships, and that also ties into our belonging again. Finally, whole child, this benchmark focused on MTSS implementation, strength and advisory, absenteeism. What Panorama supports is that safety has improved, especially in grades 6 to 12, but again, thinking about belonging, adult connection, peer respect, especially at secondary level. And then finally, educator development. Our adult data shows strong senses of belonging, leadership relationships, and work environment, and teachers and staff point to concerns about evaluation, district level, PD usefulness, and general system coherence. Again, this is an incredibly high level overview of this survey, and so a lot of the nuance of these individual questions and within these schools, I would very much encourage you to explore those publicly available results and break down those questions too, so that you can dig more specifically into questions.
Thank you so much. Ms. Lubel.
So is it possible for us to just hear just from this pulse check, you know, what might be behind the student responses of the report of the lack of trust in trusting student-adult relationships? Like, is there a thought, like any conversation about why that gap exists?
I would have to look deeper, meaning I would look at each individual school data. Is one school in 6 to 12 having greater relationships than others? What are they doing that schools that have a lower number are not doing? So this data would make me look further and talk to those school leaders about that.
And is that a next step for that?
Yeah, we can look at that information for sure.
Okay.
I think the biggest example of that from the high school specifically is what I mentioned earlier about the student summit last year. Like, that was an eye-opening experience for students to share with staff, like how they were feeling, and then you know, from that experience, the school was able to share that information with staff and kind of work together to try to problem solve that. But as far as like district-wide student-teacher relationships, we could dig into that information and see if there's any specific next steps.
Mr. Sheehan?
So I just, as we're all coughing and sneezing after marching for 2 hours yesterday in the rain, it's first of all, looking through all of the data that we could drill into, I want to say last year that I was fairly critical of some of the work being done at central office and the responses of central office, and I did see that almost every category had an increase over last year, which is good. And you can tell that there were some real improvements looked at and thought about some of the changes that were happening there. One thing that is still concerning to me, though, is that I think there's still some real comments about people at central office feeling like they even get evaluated. And that has gone down more than before. So I guess I just need to know, is every person at central office evaluated?
Yes, everybody's getting evaluated, but the experience is different depending on who the supervisor is. So Jackie and I have had a good conversation with Beth on, you know, what the most critical feedback we got from that is that the evaluation process itself doesn't really help me get better at my job. It's not, you know, some of the open responses are like, you know, I'm doing a good job, but my raise doesn't reflect that. What we want to do is tighten up our process so that every employee has a similar experience no matter who their supervisor is. And Jackie has a really good tool that her and Sarita have been using with the principals. And that tool is designed really to capture like the observations that are happening relative to the evaluation process. That for sure, I can tell you, is not happening. What happens is, you know, I have regular check-ins. Everybody has regular check-ins with their staff, but they're not necessarily they're geared at the work. Like, this is the work we're doing. How can I help? Blah, 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 blah. They're not like, here's how you're doing in the first quarter. And like, if I had to evaluate you, you would be trending towards, you know, a needs improvement, or you would be trending towards a proficient. And in order to get from needs improvement to proficient, like, here's where I think you need to strengthen. Like, there's not those, depending on who your supervisor is, there's not those regular check-ins with the hopes of the evaluation process actually being something that staff embrace and staff feel good about, and that walk away feeling like this helped improve my practice. as opposed to it happening at the end of the school year. At the end of the year, like this is your rating for the year based on all of this evidence. We do have a process where staff like assess themselves. So like most of the staff that I've experienced, they write their own self-evaluation, and then the supervisor has an opportunity to either agree, disagree, have conversations where there's not agreement, and then move on. But what we want to create is just a more streamlined process where there's regular check-ins throughout the year, and where the evaluation process is actually feeling like this is helping improve my practice.
Mr. Sheen?
Okay, but so the thing is, you actually improved on the quality of feedback and coaching that staff receive. So what you're saying there may have corrected. You're saying you're not providing that enough, but obviously there was a significant improvement from the year before. Where the issue is that the evaluation system that you're using for people at central office, the actual evaluation system is saying that it's a negative perception of the system. So obviously, I mean, people are responding to the feedback that's being given, but the tool that you're using at central office or the process that you use to evaluate, they don't see any value in that. So, like, how much time do you spend with your direct reports on each one of their evaluations to go over coaching and to give feedback during the evaluation cycle?
Yeah, it varies by staff, by supervisor. So
No, I'm asking you. So you have direct reports. How much time are you personally spending with your doing observations of them and working with them throughout the year and doing unannounced on your direct reports and then sitting down with them and doing coaching and follow up from observations? Like, do all of your direct reports have observations?
I don't know that there's a formal observation process that I've embedded. I meet with every single one of my direct reports on a weekly basis, and I have a mid-year checkpoint where I have a conversation with them and let them know where I think they're doing well, where we need to see some improvement, and I use like real-time feedback when things come up with my direct reports. But that's what I'm trying to. So
I guess what rubric, what are you doing and skills and rubric are you modeling with your direct reports to ensure that they're modeling that with their staff? Because obviously there's a disconnect from you, the people that report to you, and the people that they're working with aren't feeling as though that the evaluation process is a valuable process for them.
Yeah. I mean, I can share the evaluation tool that we're using. That's the same one that I use with my direct reports, and that's the one that they use with their direct reports in central office. What I'm noticing is inconsistencies, and that's what me, Jackie, and Beth are working on, like creating a better system to make sure that there's consistency across all of them, including myself.
And how often are administrators being trained on some sort of inter-rater reliability throughout the process? How often are you doing that with them?
Can you repeat that? What do you?
Yeah, so how often are you performing inter-rater reliability training with administrators and with your reports to ensure that every administrator doing evaluations in the district is fully calibrated to the same, so that exemplary at central office is the same as exemplary at Donahue, at McMahon, at Holyoke High? Like, how often is that training occurring?
In central office, that is what we need to get better at. That is something that we need to do a better job on, and we're going to come up with a process to make sure there's consistency. Jackie and Sarita, you have a tool that, can you share the tool that you have for?
But that's not what I'm asking. So, like, evaluators need to be calibrated. So what is seen in one evaluation, and so that the thought of proficiency that is seen in one school or one location is what proficiency looks like at Donahue is the same as proficiency at Holyoke High. And we owe it to our, so how often are evaluators in all areas are we ensuring that there's that inter-rater reliability amongst them?
Ms. Glasheen.
At the school level, at every one-to-one check-in. So when Edsel, whether it was myself or Sarita, is meeting with the principal, specifically looking at observations or their mid-year formative assessment. We review it with them. We've shared a template that is the same across schools so that they're aligning the feedback to the rubric. They're aligning the feedback to the indicators in the rubric that align to our district priorities. That's happening for school administrators. That's happening for assistant principals. That's happening for teachers. I agree with Anthony. We are at that juncture now at central office. How are we ensuring that, for example, using the DESE school district cabinet rubric, that we are inter-rater reliability, we've calibrated on those indicators at central office. I would say with 100% that schools are calibrated across schools on the teacher rubric, on the non-instructional rubric, on the counselor rubric, and then on the administrator rubric. But I would say that we need to work on that at central office.
Ms. Lubold.
So is this disparity something that you would attribute the 28% of teacher trust in district leadership? Is that the disparity in how people are evaluated? What else is going into that? Would you think is going into that number?
Yeah, that particular question, if you click on that, is about district professional development. So let me open that up. That was district leadership, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. Sorry. How to find it. So the one question that's in there is how much does professional learning provided by central office, i.e. full day PD release days, / support from school supervisors, etc., help improve your practice? So one of the things that we took away from this is that when we do our content PD, where our academic team goes in and provides professional learning to schools, and we do our exit surveys, we get 90% responding favorably to that. But when you look at this question, it's hard to connect those two data points, because whoever is reading this question, I don't know if they're talking about the content PD that the academics team is providing, if they're talking about the building principal led professional learning on Wednesdays that's being provided, because it's hard. So I feel like in the future, what we've talked about is we should break out that question so that let's be real clear. What do you think about the PD that you're getting by our academic team? What do you think about the professional development that you're getting from your school principals on these days? And what do you think about other professional development in the building? If we were able to break it out, I feel like we would get, we would be able to isolate that a little better and figure out what the issue is, because the content PD that we give, and when we give exit surveys on that PD, it shows that it's being valued by the staff. I don't know if people look at this and say, oh, well, we have 8 PD days extra, we don't really need 8 days. It's hard to tell. So I think that this is a question we really got to dig into, and maybe break out more so we get better information on the back end.
Just real quick, just a follow-up. Is it the same? Are you asking the same question? So after the PDs that you get the 90% rate, is it the exact same question that's being asked on the panorama? So it's the same verbiage?
Yep. Rebecca Thompson creates that feedback. It's the same feedback form for every department, and it models panorama.
Interesting.
It's a question that is too complicated to parse out. So it's just a bad question, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So making clearer questions is going to be helpful in the future. Thank you, Ms. Malavi, for all your work. Thank you, Ms. Goshin.
Thank you.
On to new business. Out-of-state field trips. May I have a motion that the school committee vote to accept the out-of-state field trip to the Culinary Institute of America, Hyde Park, New York on May 4th, 2026?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Michelson, seconded by Ms. Lebron Martinez. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please. Ms. Feliciano?
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Nancy Williams?
C.
Mr. Izaza?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Faith?
Yes.
Moving on to budget transfer and reports. May I have a motion that the school committee accept gifts and grants received in the above report? Moved by Ms. Tensley Williams, seconded by Mr. Isasa. Discussion? Mr. Sheehan?
Yeah, I'd just like to know the donor on Project Lead the Way. Yeah, on the grants and gifts report,
Yeah.
who is the donor in Project Lead the Way?
I don't know who the donor is, so I'm gonna have to follow up on that.
I'm gonna make a motion to amend to remove Project Lead the Way from the acceptance.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Ms. Lubold. On the motion, any discussion? On the amendment. Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Ms. Feliciano.
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Tensley?
C.
Mr. Izaza?
Yes.
Mr. Michelson?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Sheehan?
Yes.
Faith?
As amended.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
As amended. Without the project lead the way. Roll call vote, Ms. Feliciano.
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Tensley Williams?
C.
Mr. Izaza? Mr. Michelson?
Yes.
Ms. Lubo?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Moving on, may I have a motion that the school committee vote to accept the report warrants in the report above? You can read all of those on your own as listed on the agenda. May I have a motion?
To accept.
Motion by Ms. Tensley Williams. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Lubold. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Tensley Williams?
C.
Mr. Izaza?
Yes.
Lubo?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Yes.
May I have a motion that the school committee refer the budget transfers to cover legal services, pupil service, contracted services, workers' common employment, and utilities as listed above to the Finance and Operations Subcommittee?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sheehan. Do we have a second? Mr. Isasa. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
C.
Mr. Izaza?
Yes.
Ms. Lubo?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
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 Moving on to orders. Order filed by School Committee Member Wilson that the school committee hold a retreat within the next 3 months. That It's a great order to be filed. We are working on the process of putting this retreat together. You will be receiving a poll so that you can tell me your availability, so that way we can schedule our retreat. We will also in that poll, in the email, ask for possible topics that you would want to include in the agenda for the retreat. Thank you so much. Next, we have order filed by school committee member Sheehan requesting that the district invite the food services management team to review our current food service operations and procurement processes and to assess whether any findings from Springfield's recent internal audit may have implications for Holyoke.
Finance and operations.
Motion made by Ms. Lefebvre. Do we have a second? Second. Seconded by Ms. LeBron Martinez. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Ms. Feliciano.
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
See.
Mr. Izaza? Mr. Michelson?
Yes.
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Next order filed by school committee member Sheehan requesting that the school committee receive copies of all non-personnel contracts currently in force with a term greater than 3 years. May I have a motion that the school committee vote to refer this order to the Finance and Operations Subcommittee? Moved by Ms. Lefebvre, seconded by Mr. Izaza. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
See.
Mr. Izaza?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
So moved. Approval of meeting minutes. Motion that the school committee vote to accept and
So moved.
approve. Seconded by Mr. Izaza. Motion made by Mr. Sheehan. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Nancy Williams?
See.
Mr. Izaza?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Yes.
Approval of new student activity clubs.
So moved.
Motion moved.
The Poetry Club and Sports Management Club to be approved for the creation of both at Holyoke High School. And I'm assuming it's North Campus? We're still going based on that?
Yes. Do we have a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Ms. Stanley Williams. Discussion. Mr. Sheehan.
So I just, actually, can I hear the motion?
Oh, hold on one moment. Let me read it word for word. That the school committee vote to approve the creation of the Poetry Club and Sports Management Club at Holyoke High School as attached above.
Second that.
Mr. Sheehan.
So I guess just for clarification, are we approving the club or are we approving the concept of opening an account for the club?
Yeah, it's so if the club wants to do any fundraising, we need to be able to set it up in our system as a student activity. So yes, there are clubs that might not necessarily need to do fundraising, but the school has asked for us to set it up as a student activity so that in the event they want to do some fundraising, they don't have to come back here and get approval.
Okay, but I guess I go back to my question. Are we approving the club or are we approving the ability to open an account for the club?
Both.
Yeah, I guess the right terminology would be the Poetry Student Activity Club or something like that.
So it would be funding, right? So we're going to approve the creation of the club and the finance aspect or the...
Well, anytime we need to do, our part of our procedures for student activities is any new student activity accounts must be approved by the school committee.
So finance accounts. So shouldn't we refer it then to finance subcommittee?
I mean,
Mr. Sheehan.
So I just want to be clear. Are we in the business of approving clubs? Or are we in the business of creating accounts? Because there's a huge difference in both of those. And what I believe that we have purview over and don't.
Yes.
So what is being looked for with that? Like,
They want to create a student activity for the poetry club.
That'll count, though.
Okay, so you're saying it's we are now approving clubs. Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking for permission, or Holyoke High School is asking for permission to set up a new student activity for the poetry club and a new one for the sports management club. If this were just a club that didn't involve any fundraising, then my guess or my stance would be that, you know, it wouldn't have to come to school committee. I'd have to review the policies around clubs. But I do know that our current practice for student activities is we shared a full list of student activities at the beginning of the school year. It was the first time that, you know, we had practiced this with the school committee. We had closed some, and then moving forward, our intention is that anytime a new student activity is formed, that we would come here to the school committee to get approval.
Yeah, I was trying to find that policy, but you guys all started talking on my computer.
Oh.
Mr. Sheehan.
But that list you shared with us was not an exhaustive list of every club.
Not clubs, yeah, it was just student activities. That's correct. Some clubs exist that don't require any fundraising or money, right? Like if there's a chess club or a checkers club, chances are like those supplies are already there and provided, and they don't need to do any fundraising. But you know, some clubs that whenever they want to do some fundraising on their own, that's when we consider it a student activity, and we would come to the school committee and ask them for approval. So what would happen if this were approved is I would sign this form, let them know that the school committee approved it, and then we would create a new student activity in Munis so that whenever they do any fundraisers or anything like that, they would deposit it. We would put it into Munis, and then they could just go through the normal warrant process, like through requisitions and all that. Now, there's a chance that they could, you know, they don't do any fundraisers and you know, no funding goes through there, but they had requested this to be a student activity.
With an associated account so that they are able to fundraise.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, all of our student activities are in the same account.
Right.
They're differentiated.
But they're
in
recognized
units.
to be
Yeah,
able to
they're
be a part of that
recognized.
account. Yes.
There was before, you know, maybe 7 years ago, there was actually like checkbooks, and there was like high risk involved in that. We did a ton of work to get rid of all those checkbooks, and we came up with a new procedures manual for student activities. And now the only way to spend money out of these would be through the requisition process, which there's a workflow. There's checks and balances. It kind of minimizes the risk involved with handling cash.
Ms. Lefebvre?
So I'm looking through our policies because I was trying to figure out whether we would actually have to vote on this one if it's just a creation. Huh? So then we're voting then, okay, so it's not, okay. So then I have to withdraw my motion because the motion was just for creation of the club. Had nothing to do with the account.
Yeah. It does say approval of new student activity clubs. So I think
Student activity club.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're gonna
So
use
maybe
that
we
word activity? Okay.
maybe we change, you know,
Banking activities.
change it to approve the creation of the poetry club and sports management club student activity accounts.
Okay.
I think that would kind of be more aligned, so
With
that
what you
there's no
want.
misinterpretation that the school committee approves just normal, like the chess club or whatever.
Okay. So do I have to amend the motion? I withdraw my
You
motion.
can withdraw it and then.
Somebody else can go ahead and take it. Go for it, Mr. Sessa. You know the wording.
Mr. Sasa.
That we approve the poetry club as a student activity. And that
Second that.
implies the account.
Second it.
Oh, both poetry and sport management. I'm sorry.
Right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Tensley Williams. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Tennessee Williams?
C.
Mr. Izaza?
Yes.
Mr. Michelson?
Yep.
Vote. Ms. Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Fay?
Yes.
Moving on to updates of committees. Policy and Governance Subcommittee is meeting on Wednesday, I believe. Next, we have Finance and Operations Subcommittee. Oh. Go ahead, Ms. LaFave.
All right, so we're on Policy and Governance Subcommittee. I know Miss Wilson's not here, which this is kind of bad. But anyways, sorry. So I was just made aware that there's going to be a meeting on Wednesday. And unfortunately, that's very short timing for me to be made aware that there is a meeting. And it's kind of disheartening because I haven't been active in the policy subcommittee since I was appointed to be a part of it, because the first meeting that was held, I was at a conference. Then everyone thereafter was canceled because we didn't get it onto the agenda or it wasn't posted on time, whatever, what have you. And now that we do have one, I'm being notified 2 days in advance, and then I'm going to miss the April 8th one because I'll be away at a conference. So personally, I don't feel that I'm going to be an effective member on the policy subcommittee, policy and governance subcommittee. So I am requesting to be removed, but we got to find a better way of, like communication, ensuring that we are scheduling these ahead of time, because for me personally, I do work mornings and evenings, and I try to adjust my patient visits so that I can make it to meetings, but not with 2 days notice. I can't find a nurse to cover me. And like I said, I want to be a team player. Juntos podemos, right? But in this case, I can't. But just overall, any subcommittee, let's be cognizant and kind of work together and make sure. And if we're going to try to schedule dates, just responding back to the emails on time so that we can all be on the same page.
Thank you, Ms. LaFave. Next, we have Finance and Operations Subcommittee. And we have a recommendation. Mr. Sheehan. Can tell us about.
Did someone make the motion?
That the school committee vote to approve allowing the interim superintendent to move forward with a statement of interest with the MSBA for a core project to replace the Lawrence School.
So moved.
Was I supposed to read that vote language below? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Resolved. Having convened in an open meeting on wait a minute. Today's March 23rd.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Having convened in an open meeting on March 23rd, 2026, prior to the SOI submission closing date, the School Committee of Holyoke, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Board Authority the statement of interest form dated April 17, 2026 for the H.B. Lawrence School located at 156 Cabot Street in Holyoke, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future: replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide for a full range programs consistent with state and approved local requirements. In parentheses, built in 1930, one of the district's oldest buildings doesn't meet the school's education needs due to undersized classrooms and gymnasium, no media center, and insufficient space for students with disabilities and students who are English learners. Outdated building systems, including failing plumbing, failing heat, no air conditioning, limited ventilation, and absence of accessible public bathrooms, interior doorways, exterior entrances, and exits. And hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits to the City of Holyoke to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. That was so long. Can we take a vote now?
Made by Ms. LaFaven, seconded by Mr. Isasa. Discussion. Mr. Sheehan.
I'll just report this was recommended from the Finance and Operations Committee. It still needs to be dealt with by the council. You need both groups to approve it before the superintendent can submit. And that this commits us to nothing other than being able to say we might be interested.
Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Tensi Williams?
See.
Mr. Izaza?
Yes.
Mr. Michelson?
Yes.
Ms. Lugo?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Vera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Next, we have the Joint City Council School Committee. Ms. LeBron Martinez.
Yes. Please bear with me because I have my notes on my last agenda and got home and my husband thought that I didn't need them and he threw them out. So, but with that said, we had a very robust meeting in our orders that were presented. Some by the first one, which it's funny I don't have it here, is the same subject that your finance committee discussed, and it is going to in attendance. I'm sorry. Let me just say that Counselor Mr. Graney was on this meeting, as well as Jenny Rivera, Counselor Rivera, who then we discussed this the SOS request for the Lawrence School possible development, and they were gonna take it back right to the council to discuss it in order to get approval and submit forward. But that's where it stands on that particular order, which was one of the first ones. Then we had an order by Councilor Rivera, Israel Rivera, in regards to the order that hold on, had to do with the it was committee the SOS. I'm sorry. That in order that the school department be requested to provide an overview of the district's current early literacy instructional model, including reasons for transitioning from phonics-based instruction to use of the sight words and how students' reading outcomes being assessed. We have staff from the administration that came and explained it and went through it back and forth. It was a very robust. I think that's just one of the biggest conversation we ever had with data being explained over and over in a different way to understand it, which Mr. Rivera kind of wanted to get clarification even further because he wanted to say that how do we compare, is it a peer compared by nationwide, or is it compared locally or within our district, and all of that was explained. It's still, at the end, even though I felt that it was covered, it was still tabled. It was never felt it was comply with, but it appears here that it's showing that it's complied with. So I would just say that it's complied. But according to my memory, was that he wasn't completely, fully, I don't know, answered. I felt, but It does say that it was complied with.
Yeah, he acknowledged that the order
the
was
end.
complied with, and
Okay.
and he said he might have some other questions related to other things, but that for all intent and purposes, the order was complied with.
So that was one of them. And then had and I'm gonna ask Patty LeBeau to support me on this process. We had somebody has a hand? I think. Okay. So we had the another order which was from Dr. Rivera Colon requesting that the city council designate the school committee the authority to vote and accept donations given to the school department, even if they are property of ours. And that was recommended to be discussed by our city solicitor and our lawyer to come with a response.
Yeah, that was tabled so that for the next time, for when we remove it from the table, we bring our attorney and the city solicitor to see what the path forward is. We often get donations of personal property, and our city solicitor is also a school committee member and has been doing it for many, many years and has never seen where that's a requirement. So if we get, coats donated to the school, like for winter coats or winter gloves or a piano or anything like that, it's always come to the school committee for a vote. It's never necessarily gone to the city council. So there's gray areas in interpreting the Mass General Law, and this order was tabled so that we could hopefully bring both attorneys together and figure out what the path forward is.
Then, go ahead.
Mr. Sheehan.
So was there any discussion of just having the solicitor call our attorney rather than, is that what's happening, or is there another meeting?
I left that meeting thinking that the next time when we remove this from the table, let's invite both the city solicitor and the attorney. But I think that's a great idea if we could just get them to talk and not.
A phone call. Our attorney, there's billable hours. I know the solicitor, there's not. But a 2-minute phone call, might be more effective, and then report back to the committee. Unless, was there a motion that we and the council have to? Was there a recommendation of a motion to bring them in?
It's tabled.
So I would need more guidance on that part. Like, would I be the person to call, or the lawyers to convene a conversation, or who does that? I don't.
Ms. Lubold.
I was just going to say, we did talk about them talking to each other, with a call. But
The question is who does
yeah,
the convening?
yeah.
I didn't know
I'll
that.
do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. And then there's one more item.
Yeah, the order was filed by Ms. Lubo in the interest of student safety, that the school committee, in coordination with the city council, consider adopting a Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 4071, about a school violation detection monitoring system. And we had Mr. Gorman, who came in and explained the way that it's worked, and Chicopee, I guess, has been one of the first ones who's done it so far in this district. And of course, among the conversation, questions came up. What is it going to cost the city? It's not going to cost nothing. That's what's understanding. That it is a discussion and conversation from our superintendent, the mayor, and others that may play a role on this, including our police chief, because of the way that it works is that once they set up these monitors, they citation will come out of it to those who may not obey, and that's how they get reimbursed. But that's a discussion from the city, the mayor deciding how they want to go about it. But he's excited and ready to roll it out. All the vote has this particular order had to be also recommended to go to the city as well, because they have to both vote on it, because it's a law that has to be adopted by the city, my understanding again. That.
Ms. Lubold.
Yep, that's absolutely correct, Ms. LeBron. And I just want to make the law was sent to the ordinance committee from the last city council meeting on the 17th, and I did get a call from Councilor Meg McGrath Smith, who just had asked that our counterpart, Councilor Jenny Rivera, file a specific order for ordinance to take it up. So ordinance will be taking it. I don't know that they'll be able to take it up this week, but that they will be moving the process forward. And then if the city council does vote to adopt the Massachusetts state law, then that will enable the city to investigate the viability of the stop arm camera on our buses. So we just have to clear that hurdle first.
I looked up the city's website and it was on the March 17th agenda.
Yeah, it was, but there was some technicality with them sending it to ordinance, and so now, in order for Councilor McGrath to take up, Ms. Rivera will need to, and I did reach out to her, so she's aware of that.
Okay. Good. Look at me telling you to go ahead.
Mr. Soto.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, anything that we can do to make our roads safer and our students safer is always welcome. This program is not necessarily one that I'm super familiar with. We did have an actual vendor that came in and talked about it. I know that there was mention about that there's no procurement involved, but there is some sort of money being exchanged, because from what I believe, any violators that, once the arm is open, any violators would automatically get ticketed. And the way that company makes money is that they get a percentage of that ticket. So it would be a collaboration between myself, the police chief, and the city to decide how those funds are going to be used and what the percentage this vendor would take. I think based on that context, I would have to do some digging on the proper procurement laws and stuff like that. So I don't want to create the impression that the person that was here that day is automatically going to be the person that we go with. Maybe they are the sole provider in Massachusetts, but I do feel like we have to do our due diligence because there is money involved. No, it's not coming out of our budget, but there's money being exchanged and some, citation sharing with whatever vendor. So once we get the school committee, I think the vote tonight is to recommend that the city council adopt that. I know they're moving forward already and having those conversations, but we thought it was a good idea for the full committee to vote to recommend that to the city council. And then in terms of once that happens, I'll have to work to figure out what the process is going to be for selecting a vendor and working with the mayor and the chief of police to figure out what that agreement is going to look like and how we go about soliciting the right vendor for it.
Mr. Sheehan.
And would our bus company even allow it?
Oh, they would be happy to.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Lubold.
Yeah, we spoke with Mr. Ken Becker at Durham, who has familiarity with the program and the ability to do it other work. So, yep.
So,
Ms. Leber Martinez.
So do we vote? Is that a vote? Is that a recommendation to be voted on tonight, Mr. Soto? Or
I mean, that was sorry, let me talk in the mic. That was the recommendation from the subcommittee, that this come to the full committee for a recommendation to the city council that they adopt that law locally.
So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Lubold, seconded by Mr. Isasa. Discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Sensi Williams?
See.
Mr. Sasa?
Yes.
Mr. Michelson?
Yes.
Ms. Lubo?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you so much, Ms. LeBron Martinez. Leadership Accountability and Measurement Subcommittee. Ms. Afif.
I'm sorry, I got a toothache. Okay, so we just had our meeting today. And we talked about the superintendent evaluation. So for this upcoming one with interim superintendent Soto, we're going to go ahead and with the recommendation is to go with the one that was done last year, which was the modified evaluation through DESE, where we used the goals, personal, student, and district goals. And then obviously we will look into a more in-depth evaluation for the new superintendent as we move forward. And we're going to be scheduling our next meeting to take on the AI and missed services for English language learners and special education. Do you need to take a vote that we're going to go to the modified evaluation, or do you have to wait until my meeting minutes pop up on the next meeting? How do you want to do that?
Yeah. I
So
would
we'll
need
put
to
it in
wait
for the next
week.
agenda. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Nothing in ongoing business. Announcements are stated on the agenda. Moving on to not open to the public because of an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body for the purpose of collective bargaining of all units, going into executive session, not to return to open session. And superintendent contract and communication from DESE.
I have an announcement.
Seconded by Mr. Sheehan. Announcement, Miss Tensley Williams.
Yes, last week, I was honored to go to Kelly School and read to the students. So I'm getting a list of all the principals that need me to go into the schools and read. So I'm open for that, okay? Just wanted to let you know that I did. And it was nice. In fact, the kids were so sweet that, frankly, I was the one that was blessed probably instead of them, but I had a good time. So I'm looking forward to my next time to go into the schools and read.
Thank you, Ms. Sensley Williams. And I want to say thank you because there were multiple members of the school committee who got to read at the different schools. Mr. Soto?
I just wanted to plead with the community. April 9th through 11th, we have our annual musical. It's Mamma Mia. We, we admittedly, since the pandemic, haven't had, the amount of participation that we'd like to see. I had a meeting with Mark Todd, and he expressed like anything that we can do to promote Mamma Mia and start to get more people to show up. So I wanted to take this opportunity real quick. April 9th through 11th, we will be having our normal high school musical. Please support, please attend if you have the time to do so. Thank you.
All right. Back on the motion. Roll call vote. Ms. Feliciano?
Ms. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Sensi Williams?
See.
Mr. Sasa?
Yes.
Mr. Michelson?
Yes.
Ms. Lubo?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Yes. We're done? Announcement, does anybody have Tylenol?
Anybody? Y'all don't come prepared?
I don't have